China 2019. In a world where geopolitical tensions ebb and flow, how China and Australia relate and interact when it comes to trade has never been more critical. We ask whether there's a way to bridge differences when they arise, specifically what can be achieved through cultural exchange and sports diplomacy.
Now, something that's really interesting in doing business in China versus doing business in Australia, if you look at a contract, there's all these negotiations that happen and then you sign the contract and that's a done deal. Whereas in China, you sign the contract and that's when negotiations start. So it's quite interesting the way that different businesses, and that trips up a lot of foreign businesses, that they'll come in and they'll think they've got this, everything's locked in, but they need to be aware that things will continue to evolve and change. Expectations are likely to change with Chinese businesses. So just be aware that you need to be a little nimble and need to be a little accepting that sometimes a contract may not mean what you think it means.
Melbourne. Here at the home of the Australian Open, we met with Tennis Australia's CEO, Craig Tiley. We asked for his insights on Tennis Australia's longer-term experience of bridge building with China.
The great thing about tennis, it connects. It connects people. You actually don't have to speak the same language. There's a tennis court and you've got rackets and a ball. You all kind of know that is a language in itself. But it also allows people to socialise. And there's a side benefit to it. It's gender neutral, good for boys and girls, men and women, and good for exercise and long-term health benefits. It's got all these great values. So because of that, it's a great product to sell into sports diplomacy and to be able to go to the trade organizations, the business organizations. And invariably you'll find, and we found this particularly in China, everyone plays tennis in some form. And the political elite, the business elite, it's very much a sport of choice because it's got all those great benefits. So you connect immediately on that. And we've discovered we need to use that as a platform to have bigger conversations around how can governments work together, how can we partner from a business aspect that we can both benefit, both countries can benefit from that partnership, and what role can we play in connecting politicians, connecting business people, and tennis becomes a common language and a common connector, and we find that very often.
Cross-border bridge building is more than people-to-people though. It involves solid on-the-ground investment in China as well. Ben Slack, Tennis Australia's head of international business, explains.
Just recently, Tennis Australia has worked really closely with the city of Chengdu out in the western province of Sichuan. Tennis Australia and Chengdu have come together to run a tennis event called the One Belt, One Road University Championship presented by the Australian Open. 6 university teams from One Belt, One Road countries are coming into Chengdu to compete in a proper tournament. And effectively what that does is to use that as an opportunity between the countries to also talk about opportunities with the One Belt, One Road economic policy as well.
I think what excites me is just the magnitude of the possibility. I sometimes read what the politicians say or do, but they're sometimes on another wavelength. But from the people's point of view, from those people that want to engage in the sport and have a good, healthy lifestyle where they can socialise and meet friends, we've got a great connection, and that's the sport of tennis. We've come to find out the real political elite in China, in city government of Shanghai, of Beijing, and in the central government, a lot of them play tennis. And sometimes at home, somewhere. And I know because you start talking about tennis and the eyes just sparkle up. That's enough. It's it's an indication that this is working. I think it's got a ways to go because, again, we're on the beginning of this journey and finding out how's the best way we can benefit from it. But sports diplomacy is an undervalued and underutilized opportunity for both China and Australia.
Brand Australia is so powerful in China it is extraordinary. If you have school holiday camps where it's an AFL camp and you promote the fact that it's Australian, it's healthy like Australia is, and only English will be spoken, Chinese mums will go, great, tick off the healthy, love Australia, be good for their English. That's how you get them involved. So it's those little things and little lessons that we've learnt along the way, which has been fabulous.
It's interesting. There's a lot of people that seem to want China to fail and want to knock it at the knees. And a lot of these people have probably done okay out of the growth of China. I think it's because China is so unknown for so many people and so alien for a lot of people that because it's different and they don't understand it, they'll get into that defensive mechanism and try and knock it down. A lot of the negative media is I think based on people or written by people that haven't spent a lot of time in China and don't know it too well. But they know the types of messages that sell papers and sell TV shows involve an element of China bashing. But some of the messaging is justified, and I do think that we can't be too naive and to see China through rose-tinted glasses. It is a completely different type of place, and we need to go in with as open mind as possible, but also with a positive view, because if you don't have a positive view of China, you really struggle to connect and really be successful in the market.
Whether it's wool or beef or wine or medical research or other professional services, those things are very important. But a partnership between the Central Government Ministry of Culture and my government is arguably just as important. That's how you get the Chen Long exhibition, 150 odd items out of the Palace Museum that had never left China before. Some of which, because of their size and shape, can't be hung in the Palace Museum. So they were getting seen by a brand new audience for the very first time. Things that have been locked away, absolute treasures. We sold out of programs on the first day. One of the most successful National Gallery of Victoria exhibitions in recent times.